Dear brothers and sisters, I welcome you all to hear and see this video message. In this video, I am going to explain Manipur violence fight for tribal land. Content for this video I given in the description. You can go through and study. The only reason behind the violence might not be the opposition to the ST status for Meiteis. It may be one of the factors but not the main factor, as the issue of land has also been emphasized by the Meiteis. The Meiteis say that it is unfair that the Kukis and Nagas can buy land in the valley while they cannot do the same in the hills as the law bars it. They further lament that they have been confined to the shrinking Imphal valley, which has only about 10% of the Manipur's total geographic area. They claim that the ST status for Meiteis will lift this restriction on buying and selling land, which will lead to more integration between the valley and hills. But the popular claim that Meiteis cannot settle in hill areas was baseless. Section 158 of the Manipur Land Revenue and Land Reforms Act 1960 restricts the non-tribals including the Meiteis from directly purchasing tribal land, but they can through the consent of district councils. There are many Meitei localities in the hills areas. What the scheduled tribe status as demanded by the section of Meiteis would do is make the consent of the district council redundant. Kuki ST communities do not like the scenario of the Meitei demand for ST status, as they fear the economically better of Meiteis will buy their land and push them out. Manipur was witnessing a sudden population surge with a growth rate of 24.5% against the national average of 17.64%. The abnormal surge and mushrooming of villages were being noticed in the hill areas of Manipur. The increase in the growth rate cannot be explained by natural birth and can only be attributed to migration from neighboring countries. The anti-Kuki sentiment further intensified when many Myanmar refugees belonging to Kuki Mizo community sharing ethnic origin with several tribes living in the hills of Manipur, Mizoram and Nagaland fled to these states following counter-insurgency operations by the junta in the neighboring country. Kukis are migrating illegally from across the Myanmar border and occupying forest land in Manipur. Recently, the Manipur government started an eviction drive to clear illegal settlements in reserve forest areas. Illegal immigrants from Myanmar have been settling in Manipur since 1970s, but the movement has intensified now. There is an attempt by the Meiteis, led by two-time BJP Chief Minister Biren Singh, who labelled the tribal communities, especially the Kukis, illegal immigrants from Myanmar, contrary to available historical and archival records. Tribals have been residents of these parts since way before independence. The only disadvantage they have is the lack of so-called proof the government is demanding the ownership of land. These lands have been passed down to them from generation to generation via their ancestors. They do not have any written record or documentation to prove what is recorded today. In August 2022, state government notices claiming that 38 villages in the Churusandpur Gobung protected forest area in Charjandpur and Noni district were illegal settlements and its residents were encroachers. In 1970s, these 38 villages were excluded from protected forest by the forest settlement officer. Last November, the chief minister cancelled that order. Kuki groups claim that Biren Singh government declared the Churchandpur Kokpum scheduled hill areas a protected forest without proper notification. They assert that under Article 371C of the Constitution, which is specifically applicable to Manipur, the state government cannot arbitrarily make amendments to the scope of the Indian Forest Act 1927 in the hill areas of the state. Article 371C provides for constitution of a committee of MLAs, including those from the hill areas, for the modification to be made in the state rules. On 7th November 2022, the government of Manipur passed an order setting aside previous orders from the 1970s and 1980s that excluded villages from the proposed Chauchandarpur and Gobum protected forest, with automatically placed 38 ancestral villages in Chauchandarpur in the encroaching category. Leaders of hill tribes also allege that even the legitimate residents of the state have been evicted. For instance, an eviction drive was conducted in K. Songjiang's village in Chauchandarpur on February 20. Kuki National Organization spokesperson Seelan Kopkik claimed that this village has recorded dating back to the 1800 and there was no illegal settlement there. Kuki villages that have existed on the reserved forest since much before the Forest Act 1927, which covers among other things the rights of people to live in forest and to the forest produce, were not even given a chance to claim the pre-existing rights of their territory under the law. Due process was not followed. While the government is evicting the Kuki for encroaching on reserved forest, there have been no eviction in similar protected forest in Langol and the periphery of Imphal Valley, where a large population of Meitei lives. Similarly, there have been no eviction in the Naga villages of Senapati and Ugrol. Although the government clarified that the only new 2021 settlement is being evicted, the inhabitants argued that they have been living in the land for years. The eviction drive is being lamented as an attempt to deprive the tribals of their ancestral lands. In February 2023, the BJP state governments began an eviction drive in districts of Chauchandarpur, Kangpokpi and Dengnopal, declaring the forest dwellers as encroachers, a move seen as anti-tribal. Several areas in the hill district have been declared as reserved forest, protected forest, and hundreds of Kuki tribals have been dislodged from their traditional settlements area. The anguish of the Kuki people is not about the eviction but the failure to provide rehabilitation to hundreds of those affected. It cast alarm and discontent not only among the Kukis who were directly affected but also among other tribals who have villages within reserved forest areas. The tribals say they have been inhabitants of the forest even before the forest were notified. Essentially, the tribals believe that the government forest conservation and development policies are taking away their land and resources, leaving them with no means of sustenance. They also feel that the government decision to declare their land as protected forest and wetlands without their consent is an attempt to make their land a no-man land or terra nullius, which the government can claim. Several Kuki outfits allege that the government eviction drive is a ploy to grab tribal land so that natural resources can be exploited there. The government uses the word encroachment, which the tribal inhabitants say is settlement. In March 2023, a protest rally against the government eviction drives turned violent in Kangpokpi town and 5 people were injured. Following this, the government withdrew from the suspension of operation agreement with 3 underground tribal militant outfits, the Kuki National Army KNA, Zomi Revolutionary Army ZRA, the Kuki Revolutionary Army KRA. The decision was based on the assessment that these outfits were supporting the influx of Myanmar immigration from across the border, encouraging illegal poppy cultivation and the drug trade, and instigating people against the government anti-drug drive. The government cities Manipur Forest Rules 2021 Rule number 73, which empowers forest officers to evict any encroachment, trespass on forest land. It also particularly says encroachers can be evicted without notice. On the other hand, the tribals invoke Indian Forest Act 1927 section 29, which states no notification for declaring reserved forest will be made without inquiring into the rights of private people residing on the land. It is a must for the state governments to conduct survey before declaring such notification. The Manipur Land Revenue and Land Reform Act 1960 also directs the relevant authority must identify evictees eligible for relocation and rehabilitation and should also ensure basic liberties are guaranteed at the site of relocation. The Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989 Section 3(1)(g) also clearly maintains that wrongful disposition of a scheduled caste or scheduled tribe from his land or interference with the enjoyment of his right over any land will constitute an offence under the Act and is liable for punishment. They have very basic questions. Why were they not consulted if such a decision was to be made? Where are the due process of sending prior notices, engaging with communities, and a mutually agreed rehabilitation plan? How do communities depend on forest become a hindrance to forest declared productive areas? While these questions may have flavors of innocence and emotions, the fundamental idea behind development and governance is challenged. It is a case where answers to the simply put questions are hardest to answer. Hence, the easiest ways to shut them off is brutal measures like lathi charge, arrest, and delegitimation. This is all that Manipur government has been doing rather than engaging with people and taking them in confidence. It is a myth that the Meitei people do not have enough land. The Imphal Valley is one of the most fertile and productive plains in India, and its population density is the same as in other plain areas across the country. But the BJP government is finding ways to exploit and capture the tribal hills, land, and resources as the Meitei hold power and decision making in the state. The Geological Survey of India found rich petroleum reserves and deposits of other minerals in Kuki districts. So, declaring the lands of tribal as reserved forest would essentially mean the Meiteis will control all these natural resources. Bible talks about Meiteis fight for tribal's land. Just then a man Meitei in the crowd appealed to him. Rabbi, he said, tell my brother tribals to give him a share of the inheritance. Jesus answered him, friend, who gave me, that is quote, the right to judge or to divide the property between you two?